Wix Studio, the platform for agencies and enterprises to manage clients and projects with max efficiency, sharing Wix's SEO tech to help you drive growth.
Fix errors, waste, and issues in a couple of clicks. Get alerted whenever you're off track. Sign up at trueclicks.com.
All right, good. Hi, I'm Karim. Thanks for the introduction. My family do think I work on Google. Please don't tell them I don't. They'll be very disappointed. Today I'm going to be talking about my favorite thing in the whole world, which is coming up with ideas. Something that 5 years ago, everyone told me I would not be able to do. So, suck on that. But today we're not going to be talking about felonies. We're not going to be talking about specifically anything that will get you convicted. And we won't be talking about anything that you just copy someone else's stuff. It's going to be a very simple 3-step process that anyone can follow, anyone can teach someone to follow to come up with creative ideas. But first, why should you care about coming up with ideas? There's more competition now than ever before. There is 9,000 or more PRs in England, and Wales, North Ireland, which means inboxes are very tough to reach, so PR is getting harder. There's 500 hours uploaded to YouTube every minute, which makes it more difficult. And there's 600 million active blogs as of 2023. We'll see how many of those are still around after helpful content. There's also more noise. Some people might recognize these tools, and some people kind of exploit these tools to push out a lot more stuff. So it has lowered the barrier to entry for content for a lot of people. So there's just more stuff. But there's also better stuff. Some of these campaigns I'm a big fan of. This one at the bottom talking about public toilets going extinct. This one is you can get your ex name on a card that's about to be scrapped for Valentine's Day. So there's just better stuff out there that is at the moment. And there's also a reduction in single channel effectiveness, which basically means you relying on one specific channel might leave you quite hurt. And if you don't believe me, ask your favorite search engine, Reddit. You're on board with me. You need ideas. So where do you get them? Let me take you back to my first ever internship at Civil Engineering Inc. This is me. Also, this was not AI generated. If you need me for design skills, hit me up. But I was tasked to come up with some ideas for a campaign that was going to sell some houses. So I went to my manager and I asked them, okay, I need ideas. Where do I get them? And so my manager, which is bigger, said, it's talent. People just have a knack for creativity. Some people just don't have it. They were wrong. What they should have said, they should have recommended me this book, which I found after a very simple Google search after. And this book genuinely changed my life. So Aston Cleon, if you ever see this, you are awesome. But this book basically talks about ideation in a very different way. It talks about that no ideas are like super creative. Every single idea is stolen out of something else. And the main idea from the book is that art is theft. This is a direct quote. Can anyone guess who it's from? Before you start naming felons, it is Pablo Picasso. And for someone who's such a revolutionary in the space, it's weird to hear him say this, but his thesis was, all ideas are stolen, nothing is like super creative. But good artists know exactly what to steal, and great artists combine these stolen ideas in new ways to come up with new ideas. So basically what this means is if it's all about gathering and all about combination, ideation is actually a process and not a talent. So let's get into my process and how I come up with ideas on a daily basis. My job kind of depends on it. So the first step is consumption. Second step is conception. The third step is confirmation. So it's just you consume a lot of stuff, and then you come up with stuff, and then you make sure that stuff actually works. So we'll get into kind of like each one. So consumption, or what people might call research. I just needed 3 C's to kind of match because it sounds cooler. This was kind of my passion project during COVID and during the crypto boom. I liked watching the crypto coins go down. Sorry if you've invested in crypto. It was something I really enjoyed doing. But at the same time, I had a financial client who was a very, very specific client in the Forex space. And he did something very specific within that space. So very, very niche. But one day during ideation, I was like, have you ever delved into like crypto type topics? And there's this topic. How about we just create like the blog version of that? So we basically tracked what every celebrity was talking about and like the types of coins they were promoting. And we realized all of these coins were making so much money just for the celebrity. Everyone else lost a lot of money. So it was a really good piece of content and idea that just came out of me kind of watching YouTube. And I think there is something to that. So today I give you your own financial client to work with together. And if I'm biased, you're watching this, send me a free ISA or something. Publicity ain't free. But so there's two sides to every like consumption. There's like active consumption and there's passive. So we'll cover active consumption first. So this is kind of like the just general research of industry content, similar campaigns that have been in the space, forums and Reddit, social tools, comparative content. It is just basically gathering as much stuff as possible. But what a lot of people don't do is that you just keep this research in Word docs. I would personally just put it in a list full of insights. It's like, oh, this is interesting, this is interesting, this is interesting, and just have a full list of that. And passive consumption, which is something everyone does, but not a lot of people documented, is coming up with looking at things like your favorite show, music or art, your TikTok feed, bar conversations you had, nature, something that inspires you. Keep a sheet on your phone somewhere to keep track of all of these ideas so you can revisit. And as you consume more of that, I'd recommend you to even have a swipe file, which is just a sheet of stuff or ideas that you think are interesting, because over time you can go back to them. But within the consumption kind of era, there is kind of like one rule that you have to have, which is you have to gather everything, trash and gold. Just to look at every idea as if they're like a tiny puppy on the road. You don't know if they're vaccinated, you don't know if they'll bite you. You're just gathering as many puppies as possible. And in the kind of next stage, we're kind of going to look which puppies your mom is going to allow you to keep. So you basically have to gather without like a second thought. And this will make sense in the next stage, which is conception. This is kind of where the magic happens. So again, falling on the financial space, this is the type of stuff that you can kind of gather, and this type of stuff that I did gather. For one of my clients, I realized that UK was a top weak performer in financial literacy. I had seen the Norwich mental health campaign. It's not going to be relevant, but I think it's awesome. I watch Bob's Burgers, would recommend. One of my friends would talk to me about, can you print money at home? The answer is yes, but it is a literal felony, so would not recommend. But the idea is you gather all of this in like a specific sheet, and then you throw away all the stuff that doesn't seem to make sense. You fiddle around with the stuff that makes sense. And then as a team, we decided to quiz the UK population on financial literacy. So we did that exactly, and a quarter of the people did not answer a single question right. And some of the questions were very difficult, like what is an ISA? So you can take the quiz yourself. So I would let me know how you do after. However, the idea was you can gather all of these different things and connect them together that might not necessarily have things to do together. And today I'll teach you to do the same with Legos and showers. So the first thing, Legos, I call this kind of the lost manual theory. You kind of want to look at your sheet as if you've the big sheet of like stuff as different Lego pieces, but you've lost the manual. So what you want to do is kind of fiddle around with it, see if they bring together different ideas. If you look at a piece of data, instead of looking at a piece of data in its own, look at, can you weigh it by population? Can you weigh it by a specific region? So that's kind of like looking at stuff more than just, like at face value. If you look at two pieces of like two different stories. So for example, you see iPads are trending and people are having more wrist pain. Two very irrelevant, but is there a link between them? So it's just constantly consuming that and filling around. That will give you a fair bit of ideas. So you just get your stuff, and you kind of see connections between them. Again, not a graphic designer and not AI generated. And the second thing is shower thoughts. Who here has had an idea in the shower before they went to bed, when they were in nature, anytime? There's actual research on this. Your brain literally forms connections. I'm sorry if anyone here is a doctor, this is very primitive stuff, but it's like your brain, the neurons physically form when you are at rest. So if you're very, very, very stressed trying to come up with ideas, you won't be able to come up with ideas. And I know people that work in agencies, people that work in marketing in general, we're overworked, the time isn't our best ally. However, it is science. So scheduling some downtime where you step away from it will lead to some of your best ideas. Some of the idea for this talk came to me literally in the shower. So just scheduling downtime. And now after all your fiddling, after all your downtime, you have quite a big list of ideas, a big list of things that connect together, and it's time to see if they make any money. If we were just artists, we would have stopped at the first time. You just put it out there, but we're all trying to kind of make money. So this step is quite important within just like the marketing space in general. And so today I'm going to give you 2 examples of where this worked and where it didn't. So the first one was me attempting to see how much energy companies actually made within my first year in digital PR and no financial background. You can guess which one worked and which one didn't. This was the most viewed World Cup goals on YouTube. So the first one was for a comparison site. The first one was for an energy-related site. And so the first one got absolutely nothing. I got absolutely slated for it. This one did incredibly well. Got on like some of my favorite publications, like got on OneFootball, which I consume stuff. Like I think watching it back is very cool. However, if I retroactively went back, what would I have done? So my confirmation process, and yours might be different depending on where you work, but this is kind of like how I would look at it. So the first criteria is flimsiness. Sometimes you have a really good idea, but when you try to find the data, you try to execute it, it just doesn't hold together. It's like a slinky, it's just meh. So you basically want to think, can I execute this to a level where it would work? Do I know step 1, 2, and 3 before I pitch the idea? Obviously, problems will arise as you go into the idea, but I think if you try to think of it proactively, it'll be easier. Second of all, does it make money? Explains itself. Is it within the budget that I have been allocated? And the third one is any specific brief constraints. Like the main one is, does it get me from point A to point B effectively? Because a lot of the time you might work on a piece of content and then it gets a fair bit of links, but it doesn't really further the specific page that we're trying to push. Might not get links where we want it to. So it's just kind of like thinking, does this idea get me from point A to point B? So let's compare the two. The first one, it was literally YouTube data. It's quite easy to find. I actually got to watch football goals on job hours, which was pretty cool. The second one, I had no clue how this worked. I took accounting GCSE, which made me a total liability to this project. No accountants in the room? Okay. And then, so I didn't really know how it would work. I was like, well, these energy companies are clearly making a lot of money. Can we capitalize on this? And I decided to like venture into like super journalism, and I didn't really have the capabilities to do that. Hit the budget because it was free data. It was just there. We had to get a financial expert to help me because I was very inadequate at doing it, which cost a lot more time, cost extra budget. So that wasn't good when it didn't do well. And then the brief, they actually both tanked. And when I say tanked, the energy one makes sense why it tanked. It just got zero coverage. The second one, the first time I pitched it, it didn't work well. And it wasn't until I pitched it the second time and I got on one blog and then it got syndicated or it got covered from that blog that it did then do well. And retroactively looking at this second piece, if I had done this confirmation process the way I would do it now, is I would look at things within digital PR like repitching, like is the data, how can I make the data more valuable? How can I look at different regions or different countries to push this into? So I basically got lucky with that one. And I think it's important within your confirmation stage over and over to see the times in your process where you just got lucky, because you can learn something from it, or you might have just gotten lucky despite a mistake. So I think it's also very important to scrutinize this process, because this is the most important process, like it's the most important part of the process. Because if you have a lot of ideas going in, which a lot of you after this will, you just need to know how to scrutinize them well, and you kind of turn into someone that scrutinizes ideas rather than struggling to come up with them. But today I also want to talk to you guys about pottery. So there's the story about this pottery class where they got a single class, divide them in half. One half of the class were meant to create one pot for an entire month. The second half were to create a pot every single day. And then when they compared the quality of pots by the end of it, they realized that every single good pot was from the quantity group. And this isn't me advocating for people to just produce stuff for the sake of it. This is me advocating you going through that process in as many reps as possible. Because you don't get good at coming up with ideas by doing this once really, really, really well. You get good at doing this a lot until you reach a point where you're actively consuming or passively consuming all the time, where you're just coming up with ideas on the spot, where your notes, you just have a lot of stuff and then you can revisit that. And then the last one is also like very, very important when it comes to like commercializing any ideas. Like the more you do it, the more experience you get, and the more ideas you can get through that funnel, you realize, okay, this in this niche, this doesn't work, in this niche, this does work. And the most important thing within ideas is this. If you're anything like me, you've noticed kind of the yellow dot first. If you didn't, I've failed at this experiment. However, differentiation should kind of always be our final aim. And I think as you go through this process over and over and over, you will be able to master it so much that you have enough ideas coming in that you can then start to differentiate those ideas from those around you. Everyone starts off somewhere. Most of the ideas are going to feel mundane, but the more you do it, something magical happens and it starts to kind of fuse with you, not to like use weird speak, but it's like you then just become one with the process. And good news, everyone here has exactly what they need to be different. Everyone's brain is different. What you consume passively is different. What you think of in your day-to-day is different. How your brain makes these connections is different. And I think the creative people, what they have just done is that they've taken this process, iterated it enough times that they just do it naturally, and it just becomes one with them, and you think that they come up with ideas just naturally. However, I can guarantee you, if a civil engineer with very little experience can produce ideas that get on the Financial Times, you can do too. And so finally, this is just something to kind of help you in general. I will be posting this on my LinkedIn and Twitter. It's basically a sheet with just prompts where I try to like sit down and come up with an idea and then write down what I'm thinking of. This is something that I find helpful, just systemizing everything and looking at the process and thinking what are the different types of questions that I would ask. And yeah, I will be sharing this, so feel free to use it. No paywall, nothing. But yeah, thank you very much.
Monthly reporting making you want to shove sharp things up your nose? Try Dragon Metrics, the all-in-one SEO software with mind-blowing reporting tools.
Demand Sphere. Limitless visual insights from the SERPs. Unlimited dashboards and users. Easy to use and easy to scale your growth to new levels.